Do you ever get super excited for a game after it gets announced and you can't wait to play it, but then you have to wait and wait and wait? Well, in this video, we're going to take a look at 9 JRPGs that we've been waiting way too long for, starting with Dragon Quest XII. Now, this game was announced about 2 years ago, and that doesn't seem that long of a wait relative to other games in the gaming industry, but 2 years with no updates, no gameplay, no character, or nothing, it makes it feel a little bit longer. Now, I would show more B-roll, but they've basically shown nothing except this logo reveal so far. Although recently a reworked version of the logo surfaced, so that could possibly indicate that we might be getting an update soon. But nonetheless, I see people putting this on their most anticipated games of 2023 list, and I gotta say, there is no prayer of this game coming out this year, maybe not even in 2024. And I think people are excited because of how good Dragon Quest XI was. It was just amazing, so I think people are excited to see what happens next with 12, even though they said they might be changing the combat and it's going to have a more darker tone. Nonetheless, I'm really looking forward to playing this one or hearing anything, really. And another Dragon Quest game announced around the same time was Dragon Quest III Remake in the HD 2D engine. Now, this one feels like we've been waiting longer for some reason because we got gameplay and it seemed like it was right around the corner, but then nothing. In the time since it was announced, Square Enix released Triangle Strategy, the Live Alive Remake, and Octopath Traveler 2, so this one's gotta be almost done, right? Now, despite its silence, it feels like this could be a game that emerges out of nowhere and could release by the end of the year. I don't know, maybe because we got gameplay for it, and it just seems like it might be a game that we could get this year. And then also announced around the same time, but we never saw anything from it, was the fact that we were going to get Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remakes in this HD 2D style. So maybe they're preparing all 3 games to be released at the same time, or they want to show all 3 games at the same time. I don't know. Either way, I just want to play this game. Now, I know how everyone on this channel feels about mobile games, but I'm legitimately excited for this remake. Taking the entire compilation of Final Fantasy VII and putting it into one title seems like it could be really cool. Now, it does seem like a bizarre decision to do alongside the AAA remake that's happening at the same time, but regardless, this game has gone totally silent and I don't know what happened to it. It was supposed to release in the first half of this year, and we're almost out of the first half of this year and we haven't heard anything. Initially, they said they were going to do a staggered release, like release pieces of it at a time over the course of, I don't know, a couple months, but now maybe they might be doing it all at once. Maybe there's console ports, maybe it's canceled. I don't know. What I do know is that I'm curious to see more and give it a try. Now, taking our first big leap since it was revealed is Blue Protocol. This game was announced way back in July of 2019, and it was thought to be Japanese only, but at the 2020 Game Awards, it was announced to be coming to the West in 2023. Now, weirdly enough, despite this game being developed by Bandai Namco Online, it's not going to be published by them, it's being published by Amazon Games, and I'm not totally sure why. Now, this could be a huge hit in the wake of something like Genshin Impact, another anime open-world action RPG. However, Blue Protocol is more of an MMO than a single player game, but regardless, it still looks fantastic. It has such great character customization, fun action combat, and a variety of classes. I'm not super clear on its monetization model, but I'm excited to give it a try when it finally releases in the second half of this year. Originally announced as Project Eve in April of 2019, Stellar Blade is a high-octane action RPG from Korean studio Shift Up. This gives me major Nier, Bayonetta, and Devil May Cry vibes. Interestingly, Sony is now publishing this game and it's going to be a PS5 exclusive. And it's very cool to see a big-budget game from South Korea, at least it looks big budget. South Korea is mainly known for their MMOs, so it's really cool to also see a team flexing their wings with a single-player, story-focused game. Now, what's nice is that of all the games on this list, it seems like this is the closest one to release. We won't have to wait that long, as it supposedly has a 2023 release window. But as we'll get into with the last few games on this list, release windows don't always mean much. Regardless, this game looks absolutely incredible, and I can't wait to play it. Now, Project Awakening is a game that probably most of you watching this have never heard of. It was announced back in September of 2018 to be a PS4 exclusive, going for a more photorealistic look. And it was seemingly an action RPG, giving off some Monster Hunter and Dark Souls vibes. Now, what's interesting is this initial announcement trailer actually had some English voiceover. In the nearly 5 years since it was announced, the only substantial update we've ever got was this in-engine tech demo trailer back in November of 2021. It shows snippets of the world, but honestly not that much else. That said, it is good to know that the game is still being worked on, but considering this was a tech demo for the engine and it was still called Project Awakening, not any sort of official name, I wonder if the original trailer is more of a concept trailer than anything else. And at this point, I'm sure it's long since moved on to PlayStation 5, but the question is, when will it re-emerge? I'm not totally sure. Hopefully in the not too distant future. Now we're starting to dip our toes into the ridiculous territory with Atlus's Project Re Fantasy, originally announced an astonishing 6.5 years ago. Now, for those of you that have no idea what this is, let me give you a quick breakdown. The director of Persona 5, Katsuro Hashino, established a brand new studio called Studio Zero, and just to get some work flowing, they did the Catherine remastered Catherine Full Body. They also announced an ambitious fantasy RPG titled Project Re Fantasy. Now, in the years since the studio was established and the game was announced, they've virtually had nothing to say. They've had some hints here and there about wanting to say more, but it's kind of getting ridiculous at this point. Now, with all that said, I will say this. I have on good authority that Sega's Western branch has had people dedicated to this title for at least a year, so this game might not be as far away as we think. Regardless, 6.5 years since it was announced is a ridiculous amount of time, and you could have finished the game by then, but hopefully we hear anything sometime soon. Now, despite having one of the most prolonged development cycles in recent gaming history, Granblue Fantasy Relink is somehow not on the top of this list. But over 6.5 years since it was initially revealed is still pretty insane. This action RPG from Cygames was originally being developed by Platinum Games, but for whatever reason they were pulled from the project. And at this point, all signs point to the internal team at Cygames completely rebooting the project and doing it from scratch. If you compare old and new footage, it seems to have all new animations, character models, lighting, and more. And despite its insanely prolonged development cycle, there's a few signs pointing to this game actually releasing in 2023. For one, the latest trailer had English voice acting, which that doesn't usually happen until later in the process with a Japanese game, so that's really exciting. And also, Cygames recently established branches in Europe and America. Now, why would you do that? Well, for one, they do have Granblue Fantasy vs. Rising coming out, and they're going to be self-publishing that, but then they also have Relink here. So those are two huge games that you want to have established presences in all these different places so you can publish it yourself. And because of those, it seems like we're pointing to an imminent announcement of a release date. There's been that rumored PlayStation showcase for a long time, maybe even as soon as May, but also we have Summer Game Fest in June, both great places to drop a release date. Now, I will say that it's hard for a game to live up to 7 years of hype, but if this game releases at all, it'll be a miracle. And taking the crown for the game we've been waiting the longest since its announcement for is Lost Soul Aside, originally announced in July of 2016. Now, to be fair, this did start out as a one-man Unreal Engine project, and clearly it was inspired by Final Fantasy XV, but in the years since, it caught the attention of the China Hero project and Sony itself, who is now serving as publisher. And you want to know something really wild about this game? I've actually played it. Back at the 2017 PlayStation experience, they had a demo booth, and I actually got a chance to try it out. From what I remember, it's a very fast-paced Souls-like, at least it was very difficult, so think something like Nioh. It was challenging, but pretty fun. Now, every time they show more of this game, I get excited. The world and combat looks so fascinating. Sadly, we're gonna have to keep waiting as the latest trailer gave us a 2024 release window. Thankfully, we'll have some good stuff to keep us busy until then, but let's just hope we don't have to wait this long for any other JRPG. Now, if you want to see what other JRPGs are set to release this year, be sure you check out this video right here. And special thanks to Reset Switch, Tyler Kuzawa, and the Miyazaki Man for supporting me over on Patreon. To get exclusive videos and other cool perks, consider supporting me over on patreon.com/thegamingshelf. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.